Thank you, viewers, for joining this, our T20 preview of the West Indies and Sri Lanka. The first T20 international that starts at 8:30 a.m. Jamaica time tomorrow, and that should be at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time, along with also in some parts of the United States. It's an honor and a privilege once again to join you in discussing West Indies cricket, West Indies Tour of Sri Lanka 2024. I have along with me, as per usual, recently minted into the Cricket Hall of Fame and is now an Hall of Famer and fellow journalist. He's originally from Jamaica but now living in California, and he's a match analyst with us, also a contributor to the West Indies Cricket Development Academy, Mr. Dennis Eat, Cricket Hall of Famer. I have also the honorary secretary of the Cricket Hall of Fame with us. He's also a fellow journalist and a contributor to our academy. He's also a consultant with the West Indies Cricket Academy here, and he's originally from Jamaica but now living in New Jersey, Mr. Dale Brown. We also have with us Mr. Carlton Brown. He's the owner of the Cricket Forum, and he and I share a very, very good relationship. During the death of my mom, he was here in support of me, and I thank him for taking time out for being here with us here on the West Indies Cricket Development Academy TV as we discuss this series, the start of the series between the West Indies and Sri Lanka coming up. And as the gentlemen are here with us, first Mr. Eat, your opening words, then Mr. Brown, Carlton Brown will follow thereafter, and then Mr. Dale Brown.
Good afternoon you to my fellow panelists, Mr. Dale Brown, Mr. Carlton Brown, and of course Junior Codlin. Also a big shout out to the viewers and listeners of the West Indies Cricket Development Academy. We are here today and hoping that you will be able to glean some insights from us as to what we think are personal opinions, what we think will go down when the West Indies take on the Sri Lanka team in the next 3-match series or the T20. Back to you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Juna, for inviting me to join your show. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Greetings to everyone. First to the fellow panelists, Mr. Brown, Mr. Heath, and to Mr. Codlin for giving me the honor of being here. And I'm sure that we will offer some very insightful point of views for our viewers. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And as we get this show on, we want to take a dive into what the West Indies former captain and now head coach Darren Sammy had to say to a fellow journalist a few days ago, and we'll play for our viewers. We'll also have it shared with you, our panelists, so you can comment really on what the head coach had to say. Firstly, to our Okay, we'll get back to that in a moment. But looking at the T20 team that is slated to take on Sri Lanka tomorrow, gentlemen, starting first with Mr. Brown. What you think should be the playing 11? The coach talked about players just coming from the CPL. We know that it was a long travel from the Caribbean and through a few countries to Sri Lanka in a short space of time because the CPL finished on the 6th. So if you had an opportunity to pick this team, depict for us the players that you will include and the players that you won't. And as you do so, we'll show the squad on our screen. Go ahead. Mr. Brown?
And which Brown is this, Brother Codlin?
Yeah,
You want
Mr.
Dale Brown?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just had to make sure. Okay, well, as we know, Hetmeyer, Puran, Russell, and Hussein are unavailable for this series. I would expect the starting 11 to be Russell, of course, Chase, Fabian Allen, Athanase, Hope, the two Josephs, Brandon King, Moti, Rutherford, and Shepherd. That would be my 11, sir.
Mr. Carlton Brown, what would be your team going into this first T20 against Sri Lanka tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Jamaica time?
Thank you very much, Jonah. When I look at the 15-man squad that is in Sri Lanka, it means, therefore, that 4 of those 11, 4 of those 15 will not play. Now, the first thing I have to do is to look at the composition of the playing 11. In recent past, West Indies have gone into the match with 5 specialist bowler and plus a 6 bowler in Ruston Chase, who, in my opinion, can play solely as a batsman or slowly as a bowler. And therefore, it gives West Indies that flexibility to play 6 batsmen and 6 bowlers because of Chase flexibility. Now, however, I have decided that I'm not going to go with that 5th bowler, but will using Chase solely as a 5th bowler. I look at the team and the squad, and I mostly go in an alphabetical order here. Andre Fletcher, I don't think that he will play in the 11. I think he's largely there as a backup batsman. Not as a batsman, as a backup wicket keeper. You look at Sheo, we expect that Sheo, Brandon King, Ravman Powell, Shafin Rutherford, we expect all of those to be in the playing 11. So who are the other 2 batsmen? The other 2 batsmen is obviously going to be Evan Lewis and Alec Athanase. So my 6 batsmen playing tomorrow will be Sheo, Brandon King, Elvin Lewis, Alec Athanase, Ravman Powell, and Shafin Rutherford. As I said, Chase will be one of my bowlers. The other bowlers there are Terence Hines, Fabian Allen, Romario Shepherd, Alzara Joseph, Shamar Springer, and Gudakesh Moti. Which 3 of those I'm going to select to play with Chase? Well, Gudakesh Moti, Romario Shepherd, and for me, Alzara Joseph are sure pick. Then you're left with Terence Hines, Fabian Allen, and Shamar Springer. Now, I thought about this long and hard. Up to a day ago, I have Shamar Springer in my 11. But I expect the pitch in Sri Lanka to be slow and to offer some turn. So my playing 11 will include Fabian Allen. So the 5 bowlers will be Ruston Chase, Fabian Allen, Romario Shepherd, Alzara Joseph, and Gudakesh Moti. That is my playing 11.
Absolutely. Thank you for your thoughts, Mr. Brown, representative of the CEO and representative of the Cricket Forum, one of the hottest cricket shows here on YouTube. Hall of Famer, Mr. Heath, your view on the West Indies 11 taking on Sri Lanka tomorrow.
Yes, it's interesting to know that Coach Sammy has included in his squad 11, I believe, 11 of the players who were selected in the squad for the World Cup. So that's a good beginning. It means some consistency. There are inclusions and new players, but that again shows that he is building. Now, my team would be Powell captain, Chase vice captain, Athanase, one of the newcomer in the T20 format here, Hope, Alzari Joseph, Shamar Joseph, Brandon King, Moti, Fletcher, Rutherford, and the 11th position would be either Shepard or Allen. That's where I would that's the 11 that I would be selecting for this particular match, Mr. Codlin.
Yeah, for the let's hear what the West Indies head coach had to say with the team. Hold on a bit, having some amount of difficulty.
It's interesting to note, Mr. Codlin, while you're doing that, that my fellow panelists have not included in their team Hines or Shamar. Hines is not there. I don't recall Fletcher. Or what's even more interesting, though, is that Johnson Charles, and I know I've been a critic of Johnson Charles in previous segments of the show, but Johnson Charles in this fast version of the CPL came out with flying colors and an average of 41. So it surprised me very much that Darren Sammy did not include him in this 11, but chose to ignore him. So, and yet, as I said, I've been a critic of Johnson Charles and one who would have excluded him. But looking purely at the cricket side of things, he certainly had proven in the CPL that perhaps he was worthy of a second look in this trip to Sri Lanka.
My views on Johnson Charles is that one, I think that his performance merited a place in the team. For whether you're 1 or you're 99, I think that you should go with performance. However, there are two things that came to mind. One, there was some think that Johnson Charles be around in squad and he's billing for the World Cup. And secondly, is it that Johnson Charles has unofficially retired from T20 international cricket? Is Johnson Charles saying at 35 years old, I'm going to maximize my earning potentials on the T20 circuit? So listen, Sammy, I'm not going to be available for all those T20 matches, because I'm going to play some T20 franchise cricket. So let me say to you, don't really include me. Maybe something like that. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, and Mr. Dennis Weeks Johnson says that Charles is injured and had a surgery in Jamaica. That is news to us. It's the first we are hearing this. And like we said on your show this morning, Mr. Carlton Brown, the communication that is coming out from Cricket West Indies remain something that is lacking, because if this is true,
Thank
and
you
we
very
will
much.
check if it is true, then it's quite a miss from Cricket West Indies for us not to hear these things. But in saying that, same as how we talk about it was a wrong move from the West Indies. It was on Sportsmax yesterday. So Mr. Dennis Weeks is saying that it was on Sportsmax yesterday. So it's gonna be easier for us to confirm this. Um, you know, just like we talk about the head coach Darren Sammy was wrong to talk Andre Russell out of the retirement that he said he would take, it is wrong as well to include again. And no wonder why our West Indies team is the way it is, because we keep looking back at these players who have done it already, and we are not giving opportunity to younger players, because Mr. Dale Brown can come in at this point when the opinion really is, with an entire month and a half of CPL and with so many senior players making themselves unavailable, was it right to go back to Andre Fletcher? Hearing previously during the South Africa series that we are building towards the 2026 World Cup. Are the West Indies saying something and doing the other? Mr. Dale Brown first.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Codlin. The composition of the team, one thing I've listened to Sammy speak about is using a mixture of experienced players to guide the younger players. And that makes sense. But if you're building towards a particular tournament, which is 2 years away at this point, and considering that Sri Lanka will be co-hosting the next World Cup, I would have thought that you'd give youngsters especially the opportunity to acclimatize themselves to the conditions that they'll be meeting in Sri Lanka. Whether or not Johnson Charles is injured, we'll take that. I'm happy he's not there, because I don't see him at age 37 representing the West Indies. Let's go to Andre Fletcher. He's 37 now. He'll be 39 then. I do not see him on that squad. So is it there that you are just bringing him there as a mentor, or what? To me, there is no point, no real point. Despite his great performance, and you want to reward him for it, but at this stage of his career, his boat has sailed by, and God bless him, let him go out and make as much money as he can, but he should not be selected in the West Indies team at the expense of younger players who need that exposure. 37 years old, to me, is not looking to the future at all. And that brings me, if you don't mind me mentioning Mr. Hines, since that Mr. Heath mentioned his name, again, you can't tell me that there is a younger bowler, whether it's a Matthew Ford, or someone that you could bring in his place, because he's 32 years old. I'm not saying he's too old, but if you are going to give him the exposure at this age, you may as well give someone in their 20s that same exposure. You are investing in the future at that point.
With that being said, let's listen to what the West Indies head coach had to say.
Or is it that you're going to be grouping the guys now to get ready?
Yeah, well, the good thing is we're coming from our Caribbean Premier League, so most, if not all, the guys have been playing cricket, which is a plus when you have a series that comes so close after a tournament. So us traveling here to Sri Lanka, the most important thing is the recovery of the guys, and we're going to have a couple of days to do that, and a training session before our first game on the 13th. But looking from what transpired in the CPL, my guys are ready to take on a really strong Sri Lankan team.
All right, Coach. This team has been doing well,
Pause, Mr. Codlin.
You're looking at your second series overseas. What is it that you want to see as you continue to develop?
Yeah, well, if you notice,
Technical difficulty.
we are trying the depth of our squad. We've given some guys some opportunities with the World Cup coming up in less than 20 months. With some of our senior players, being unavailable, I'm looking to see how far, how great our depth.
June, are you hearing me?
Yeah,
The main purpose is to win series. We've been doing well so far, and giving guys opportunities to, like you said, to help build and develop. So I'm really excited. Sri Lanka is a young team since Jayasuriya took over. There's been a new energy and confidence in that team. So it would be a good series for us and a good tester for us to see where we are in the depth that we have in the Caribbean.
Yeah, you mentioned the depth of the team. A couple of new faces, Shamar Springer coming in for the first time. How is it that you're, and Terence Hines as well, a late inclusion. How is it that you're looking to see these guys come through?
Yeah, obviously the roles that they are going to be playing, especially with the ball in the back end is a role that we are looking for and trying to find specific guys to do that. So that this series, although it's short, only 3 games, but it gives them the opportunity to see and have a taste of the international flavor of cricket. So hopefully when the opportunity comes, we could judge where they are. But I have full confidence from what I've seen, what I saw in the Caribbean Premier League, the skill set, the temperament they've shown already. That's why they are here with us, and I'm looking forward to what they could do on the international scene.
And Sri Lanka was a good.
Gentlemen, I'm sure you heard a bit of what the head coach had to say there. Your views on what he had to say when he was asked about the team that he picked. And bearing that in mind, if you note that in previous tours like these, you would have had an opportunity to talk to the captain or the head coach through a press conference, but that has been eliminated now. But for the bit of what we heard, what he had to say, your views on what head coach Darren Sammy said, especially when he talked about the youngsters and giving them a chance. Is there really any youngster in that team?
That Coach Sammy said he wants to give the youngsters the feel of international cricket. But my question is, are they likely to participate? Remember what we saw with the World Cup squad, where the likes of Hayden Walsh Jr. was selected as a reserve, yet he did not participate, quote unquote, as a youngster. There are other youngsters who have been selected to tour with Cricket West Indies for one or other reasons, but came back without having had much of an opportunity. So I am yet to be convinced that Darren Sammy's selection of youngsters are likely to bear any fruit, because Darren Sammy will select them and take them, but all will happen, they will take the water and the towel out. I don't see Darren Sammy giving them the opportunity to actually participate. Look at Hayden Walsh Jr. as a prime example of a reserve in the T20 squad. He's been omitted from this T20 team and been included in the ODI squad. So what is going on? Where's the consistency from Darren Sammy? That's my view on that.
Before I know you're aging to go, Mr. Carlton Brown, but let's hear what Mr. Dale Brown have to say, and then we bring you in.
Again, Mr. Codlin, I will reiterate. When you speak about young youngsters as far as cricket is concerned. Because I don't know who he refers to as youngsters. For example, Hines is 32 years old, and he did not do anything outstanding where you can say he needs a chance, he deserves a chance. Springer is 26, so I can go with Springer. Athanaze, we know he's a youngster, genuine. But Fletcher, again, as I say, at age 37, Mr. Fletcher does not need to be in the squad. You have other persons that you can blood, you can invest in them. And bearing again in mind that Sri Lanka will be hosting, or one of the hosts, I think they co-hosted with India, the next World Cup. Give these persons a chance to experience the conditions over there. The youngsters who more than likely would be available just by and still performing well, hopefully because of their age, because at age 39, I'm willing to bet anything that Andre Fletcher will not be in that World Cup squad. And just for that matter, neither should Johnson Charles. Give the youth the chance, because these men are not like they're 29, 30, 31. They are closer to 40 than anything else. And he needs to be consistent with what he's saying. What he says sounds good, but you need to be consistent with it.
Absolutely. Mr. Brown.
Yes, thank you very much, Juna. All right. Darren Sammy last week in an interview with a media in Sri Lanka, was it Sri Lanka? I don't remember, but he said that he had a dream, that he will win another World Cup. Now, the thing about dream is that people dreams with their eyes closed. So I would have loved for Darren Sammy to say that he has a vision. So, you have a vision with your eyes open. You see where you're going. Now, in saying that there are youngsters in this team, I agree with Mr. Brown. The two youngest players in this team are Alec Athanaze and Shamar Springer. I do not want the point to be lost on us, though, and this is my opinion. I'm just giving my opinion. That the senior West Indies cricket team should not be a development team. It should be a winning machine. There are other avenues for development, A-team tours, academic tours, and regional cricket. The West Indies Academy at Coolidge, they are other place for development, but the senior West Indies team should be, its primary objective should be a winning machine. That's the only way that money is going to come into the program. Now, looking at Andre Fletcher, and do I agree with the selection of Andre Fletcher? I don't know. But I think, though, the reason why they selected Andre Fletcher is to be, once again, the backup wicketkeeper in the squad. I don't think that Andre Fletcher is going to play any match. They already have Pooran and O as the two keepers that they are looking forward to, although Pooran is not there, but they are confident that those are my two keepers. If both of them are fit, those are the two we are going to travel with. They are not, it's only hope there this time. And they are looking at Fletcher as the backup wicketkeeper should in case anything happen. You could say go with Joel Andrew, who played in the recently concluded CPL. But as a youngster, you have to balance it out with what I said earlier. The senior West Indies cricket team should be a winning machine. They could have gone with the dreadlock from Barbados, who I think is a better wicketkeeper and a better batsman than Joel Andrew. But I can't recall his name right now. But I'm just trying to see the rationale behind selecting Andre Fletcher. Again, I said, would I have selected him? I don't know. But I'm just trying to put forward the rationale. Thank you.
Absolutely. Very good point. But one I would labor on by saying, when we look at the past great and the icon in Marlon Samuels and the age that he came into the West Indies team, even Fidel Edwards and a few others that we have seen that came into the West Indies team. Um, I take and agree with you in saying that the West Indies team should be a team that it's when the players are ready and are proven to be match winners, then they should be included. But with our West Indies team, and we spoke about, which I think your show is a very great show, and the latest edition this morning touch on a lot of great topics. When you look at our 4-day system, it's not producing the type of players that are required at the international level. Our List A cricket and the CPL is not something that embrace young cricketers, and so there's no growth. That's why I mentioned earlier the fact that you have a month and a half of CPL, you have so many players pulling out of the West Indies team, yet you can't find a up and coming match winner to open the batting or a wicket keeper. You have to go back to the old pro. That is telling me our developmental program here in the Caribbean is failing, and it's failing miserable. I like what the former West Indies captain said when he was playing, and since he retired in Pollard, when he called for a dedicated T20 um, championship here in the Caribbean that will enhance the youngsters. I think that is a solution to the impending problem and the problem that we're now having. Mr. Heath, Hall of Famer Dennis, do you think that this can solve the problem? Because what Mr. Carlton Brown said, there's a lot of merit to what he's saying. And so the problem is now, where is the solution in your view?
Junior, Darren Sammy has selected 11 of the previous 15 squad from the World Cup. So that gives me the impression that he is definitely working towards building that winning team. However, one criticism I have is that Kyle Mayers, for example, according to Carlton, he's an opening batter. Yet there's been no place for Kyle Mayers in this team in Sri Lanka. Why is that? Is Kyle Mayers injured? Is he unavailable? Why are we not hearing what's happened to him? Certainly Kyle Mayers has shown in the World Cup matches that he has the experience, the skill, and the quality to be in the squad. Now, my other point, of course, and that is on Dale's and perhaps Carlton's comment regarding age. Age, this is a T20 format, which means you do not need to have the kind of longevity in terms of test playing matches where you have the 5 days. It's 20 overs. So in my opinion, you could certainly produce at the age of 40, 41 in a T20, as we've seen here. So I would not rule a player out now on the basis of the fact that he's catching up, going on in age, because this is a T20 forum. So it can certainly be excluded as a criteria for not selecting a player. Now, Carlton has said Fletcher perhaps maybe going as a backup wicket, but at the same time, he could be going as just a batter rather than a backup keeper. But you're speaking of youth. Why not include Joel Andrew as that backup keeper if that is the case? Remember, Joel Andrew, at 17 or 18 years old, has made his first appearance in the CPL. And by all accounts, he has acquitted himself fairly well. So if you want the youngster to improve, to bud, to become a qualified player in the age of this particular franchise type of matches, then you need to give youngsters like Andrew the T20 experience. Why do you select him for the ODI squad but not the T20 squad? Sometimes the not the qualification, but the rationale and the reasoning behind this selection are not always made very clear to us. Back to you.
Mr. Dale Brown, your view?
I agree with Mr. Heath. I again cannot emphasize it enough. Dealing with across all sports, there's always a vexing question about blooding people, giving them opportunity, etc., etc. This is a team sport. You're talking about batting lineup. You're talking about bowling unit. If you are bringing someone there more in a cheerleader capacity, and he's not going to play more than likely, it is better for you to bring a youngster. And Mr. Heath mentioned Joel Andrew. If he's already there as a member of the one-day squad, why not just let him double up since he's not going to play? Let him double up as the wicketkeeper batter in reserve to hope. Because it's not a development issue in terms of going out to play. It is a reflection that you don't have confidence in your development program to bring somebody up and give them that chance. And we can go through many names of persons. Someone mentioned Marlon Samuels before, who went to Australia and went as a youngster and did well enough, didn't perform anything big, but got the exposure and had a long test career, international career. We go back to even a Michael Holding, who barely took 16 first-class wickets in 4 seasons before he was selected for the West Indies team. So you have to pick these youngsters and give them that chance, especially when the older person, you take Hines, nothing against Terence Hines, but at age 32, I'll come off of Fletcher now. At age 32, you can tell me that he is a better selection than, say, a Matthew Ford. Give someone else a chance, because at this stage, he never did anything to warrant you saying, wow, where was this guy all this time? He has not impressed me in that way.
Absolutely. When we look at the Sri Lankan team, since the ascension of the coach Sanak Jai Saria, the former great, and admittingly by the West Indies head coach as well, Sri Lanka is a shining light. West Indies have to be careful of Mendes and Desanka, and Kushalda Pereira is there as well. Mendes is there. Their new captain, Asalanka, is there as well, and Azaranka. That's the bowler that West Indies will most be worried about in the T20 tomorrow. And so we have to be wary of these players, and we just so our viewers can get a look at it. But let's look now at the West Indies team itself. The young man on the screen there, not so young anymore, but Evan Lewis coming back. Your comments on Lewis, what is the expectation from you all, your personal expectation from him? Bear in mind that he was right up there with Chris Gayle before, unfortunately, he went out of the West Indies team. But him being called back now after the 2022 World Cup, he has never played for West Indies again, but he getting a chance to come back now. What's your expectation from Lewis, a man that blossomed in Sri Lanka the last few times the West Indies was there?
Well, for one, I do not have a problem with Evan Lewis being there. He's a proven commodity, and we know that he took a sabbatical for whatever reasons. So I just, if he can force his way back into the starting 11, that's good for us because he still has productive years ahead of him, all things being considered. He did not set the world on fire with the exception of that one inning in the T20, which was a superb knock. And so we know he still has it in him. So I don't have a problem with him coming in. He's, I believe, 33 years old, I think. And I have to look at age because it tells you about the future. And you don't want to, at some point, be dropping these youngsters in the depth of the waters, so to speak, sink or swim. You want them to develop in a very meaningful manner. So Lewis is there, no problem at all with him. If Athanaze does not acquit himself, I expect Lewis to replace him rather than let him, I just expect Lewis to replace him, if anything.
Yeah, Mr. Carlton Brown, your views on the returning Evan Lewis, your expectation from him for this series, in particular the T20 series, seeing that we will have a T20 World Cup before the next 50 over World Cup.
Evan Lewis will play tomorrow morning. It's just a matter of who else will play, but Evan Lewis will play. Darren Sammy, like him before COVID, he was our very best T20 batsman with an average of over 40 and a strike rate of close to 180. Now, since COVID, there have been some issues, but he will play tomorrow and he will open with Brandon King. I have no doubt about that. I just want to say a word on Kyle Myers, though. I too believe that Kyle Myers should have been there. And as you mentioned earlier, Juno, these are the things that are bothering us because there's no accountability from Cricket West Indies as to tell us why was it that Kyle Myers was left out of the team. But Evan Lewis will play tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. Okay. Mr. Eid, Mr. Brown, you want to say something first?
Just very quickly, I read one report that Pooran, Andre Russell, Jason Holt, and Kyle Myers declined the
invitation.
Well, he declined the central contract. So I don't know if that plays into this selection. I just wanted to point that out. Okay. He declined the central contract. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It shouldn't, but just wondering.
Yeah. Mr. Eid?
Well, that last statement or comment by Dale leads me to wonder just exactly what are these players thinking about and what exactly is CWI in offering contracts used as yardsticks in terms of. Now, regarding Lewis has certainly in the CPL at any rate, his average was 28 in 10 innings, which is not in any way, shape or form something that you would look down upon in T20 cricket. But we should also remember that Darren Sammy had made it plain a long while ago that one of his goals was to bring back as many of the players with whom he has confidence. And so I am not surprised that the makeup of the team includes so many of the older experienced players who have a great deal to offer. So, Lewis was not in my 11, but nonetheless, I suspect that if he's in the 11, it will certainly give us food for thought as to exactly which road Darren Sammy is walking down.
And as we show on our screen there, just before we went to Brandon King picture, Jerome Foster, a fellow journalist, he's from TVJ. here in Jamaica, and he was employed as the media analyst and content officer on tour with the West Indies team to Sri Lanka. Very good thing here because he's a Jamaican and we feel that we are being outdone by our players being excluded from the recently contracted academy players there in at the CCG in Antigua and Barbuda. So it's a bit of consolation with Foster being brought on board there. And also, we take note from Cricket West Indies that they would have booted off the Jamaican umpire off the umpiring board here in Cricket West Indies in favor of a man from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and also in favor of President for the T20 Cricket Board and West Indies Vice President Asim Bassarat. We just want to let the viewers know and be aware that we are watching these developments, and as soon as we gather more information, we'll be making further inquiries on here in keeping the West Indies Cricket Board honest. A statement should be put out in regards to that. You can't just be making changes and not giving account for the changes that you are making. West Indies cricket is a public good, not an island good. And so we want the administration, the Dr. Kishore Shallow administration, to be very fair in its dealing with our sport here in the Caribbean. Gentlemen, tomorrow games start at 8:30 a.m. Jamaica time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time. West Indies winning the toss. What should they do? The outcome of the game. What's your expectation? One after the other. You're muted, Mr. Brown.
Oh, can you hear me, Mr. Codlin?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello? Yes. No, it will be a very stiff and stern test tomorrow because for the players, because you're going into a new environment without much preparation, without much opportunity to adapt to the conditions. So West Indies will be hard pushed to win that game tomorrow. Very hard pushed. Even more so because we are missing some of our better players. So I expect a very close match. It should be a high-scoring match, and our bowling unit will have to really come very good. You know, I don't know if Fabian Allen can do what Hussein would normally do. We know Moti will do his thing, and of course Chase will back them up along with the two pacers and the medium pacer in Shamar Joseph. Shamar Joseph, Alzari Joseph, and Romario Shepherd. I expect that same formula with the only difference is that Allen will take the role of Akil Hussein. I expect that should be the attack going forward. Do not have a problem with Evan Lewis playing because, as I say, he's a proven commodity and we are lacking experience going into this game.
Absolutely.
If West Indies can win, it will tell me that they have matured tremendously. Because to win without any warm-up game or pre-match preparation will be amazing for me.
Yeah.
But yes, I first just want to say something that Mr. Eads said about the criteria for awarding these retainer contracts. That is something that should concern all West Indian fans. And again, it goes back to the accountability. We do not know how these things are done. And we want to know how it is done because it seems to me sometimes that they just pluck a name out of nowhere. You mentioned the academy squad. There are no Jamaican in that 15, and one wonders why. Is there an issue with Jordan Johnson? There's no doubt about his quality, but are there other issues with him apart from cricket? So we need press conferences to ask these questions, to get answers, to interrogate these decisions. When it comes to Sri Lanka tomorrow morning, and I'll be doing a live watch along. If you wish to join, Juna, we can set it up and send you the link so that you can join. If I win the toss tomorrow morning, I am bowling first. It's a night match, although it's this morning in the Caribbean, it's a night match in Sri Lanka. Now, Welledge, the left-arm orthodox spinner, Asaranga, the right-arm leg spinner, and Tikshana, the off-spinner. All those three spinners played in the CPL that ended Sunday. Some of them leave before, but all three were here. They would have gathered a lot of data and information on our West Indies batsmen if they need any more, because we are living in a technological age. But it will be a trial of spin for the West Indies batsmen. Welledge just won the player of the series against India, so he has some quality therefore, and we all know about Asaranga and Tikshana. West Indies' best chance, in my opinion, tomorrow is to win, and they bowl first. Yes, bowl first. What did I say? I think they should bowl first if they win the toss. Bowl first if they win the toss. That's my final position. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Yeet.
Well, I think Dale mentioned lack of warm-up. But, I honestly do not think the warm-up is a factor, because these players, all the squad of the Cricket West Indies, been very much hot in the recently concluded CPL. So warm-up, this opportunity between the end of the CPL and the journey to Sri Lanka gives them the opportunity to rest themselves. Therefore, warm-up is not and should not be a factor. Hasaranga, Tikshana, Wellalage, they have all been out here, but of course at the same time, our batters have had the opportunity to see what they have to offer, how they do it, and what they should be looking out for. So I do not see that there will likely be much of a problem, despite the fact that they're playing on a different wicket. But if West Indies win the toss, I expect that they will bat second. They have done very well in the past batting second. And if you look at the T20 table ranking position, West Indies now number 3. Let's give kudos to Darren Sammy for the upward mobility there. West Indies number 3 in the T20 ranking, and Sri Lanka is at number 8. So that tells us right now that the West Indies is playing much better cricket than Sri Lanka. That doesn't mean that they will win the match, but it gives them a lot more confidence in going into this game. And so I see West Indies, winning the toss, batting second. If they are put in first, they might struggle somewhat, but then it becomes up to the bowlers of the West Indies to do the job. And I know the likes of Shamar Joseph, I can rely on him doing and giving of his best. So I think we stand a very good chance of winning this first match in the series tomorrow.
Mr. Dale Brown, do you think the West Indies will win tomorrow?
I expect them to win because, of course, they're the West Indies. I think they'll be very hard pressed to get to that finish line.
Mr. Carlton Brown, win for the West Indies tomorrow?
I want the West Indies to win. There is no doubt about that. I'm supporting the West Indies to win. If I have to bet on the West Indies to win, if a bookie consult me right now and the bookie said, who are you forecasting to win the match? It will be Sri Lanka.
Absolutely.
But I want West Indies to win. I heard Mr. Eat advising us that the West Indies is now ranked number 3. Yes, done very good, because when Powell took over last year, March, we were ranked number 8 and we have climbed the ladder. That means that the team has been performing consistently over the last 18 months. There's no doubt about that, and that's why you are seeing the core of the team has remained together so long, because the team is a winning one and the team is climbing the ladder. So you're not going to have a lot of chop and changes. You're not going to have a number of chop and changes. The core is going to remain the basics. So it's a good one, and we rank number 3. That is well established. We are grateful for that. However, India was the world champion and ranked number 1, just got a flogging from Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is not an easy place to go and play T20 international cricket, especially at this time in their development. I want West Indies to win, but if I have to bet, I'm betting on Sri Lanka.
Yes, Sana Jai Surya, since taking over the Sri Lankan team, has been massively improved under his coaching, and he now becomes the first Sri Lankan in a very, very long time to be awarded the full-time contract of coaching that team because of the result that they would have got under him. And he came out the other day to say he has no favorites. So that means that if a player is not carrying out the given instruction, he will remove them, and the power has been invested in him to do so. So from my point of view, I believe that the West Indies will come out with a victory tomorrow against Sri Lanka, based on what we are seeing, the commitment from the players and the hunger that is there. Hall of Famer recently minted into the Cricket Hall of Fame, Mr. Dennis Heath, and fellow journalists, thank you for joining us today to look on the upcoming game with the West Indies and Sri Lanka. We hope to have you back on Monday to review the game with the West Indies and Sri Lanka, whether lose, win, or draw. All of Famer Eat, thank you. And Cricket Honorary Secretary, the Hall of Fame Honorary Secretary, Mr. Dale Brown, thank you for joining as usual again. Your contribution was valid. And also the CEO of the Cricket Hall of Fame, Mr. Carlton Brown, it was a pleasure having you with us this evening. Your thoughts are very, very welcome and pointed, and with a lot of clarity this evening for our viewers. We leave you now with scenes of the two captains walking out, unveiling the trophy, and we will be back with you Monday to review the first T20 International with the West Indies and Sri Lanka. Until then, goodbye for now. Panelists, thank you for joining.
Respect, Jonah. Respect, gentlemen.
Good meeting you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man.
We have to make sure that we have